What is going on, guys? What is going on, 27 squad? Welcome back in to another video. And listen, today we're just going to be venting and kind of ranting almost. We'll see how this video goes, man. But I've been giving this a lot of thought because you guys have heard me talk about this New York Giants team and be as optimistic as I possibly can about this New York Giants team with keeping some realism afloat, right? Where I still like to be realistic, but at the same time, I'm more of a glass half full type of guy. Although you guys may see me just give up on life for a couple of minutes and then I get right back to reality. But this New York Giants team does a lot of crazy things to you mentally. But that being said, I really wanted to talk about, where this New York Giants team is and comparing where this team is at compared to other teams that were in our situation just a couple of years ago and where they're at now, because it is very, very fair to make those comparisons. When you're going into an NFL draft and you got the top 5 picks there, those top 5 teams, barring any trades that lead them into that top 5, are teams that are just terrible. They're freaking dog water, right? They're terrible. Terrible teams that need high draft picks to build their team, and sometimes that works out. They draft a star blue chip prospect, they get themselves a new coach, a new GM, and boom, right there and then they are rebuilding and starting anew. Now, we look at this New York Giants team, and ever since, I want to say 2013, it's never looked the same that it did a couple, before 2013, obviously. 2013 was really a bad spot, right? That was Tom Coughlin's latter years, and, we started 0-7, I think 0-6 0-7. I believe 0-7 that year. We finished 7-9. It was great. We had a lot of momentum going into the next season. And then 2014 comes around and we go like 6-10. That was Odell Beckham's rookie year. Or was that 7-9 again? I could be mistaken. But ever since then, besides 2016, which we all know was a fluke, the New York Giants have always stayed stagnant in their progression. Always stood stagnant. That is the problem of this New York Giants team. We are not super terrible, although we're 0-3 right now. We look like the worst team in the league. We're not super terrible, but we're not, we're not great either. We're not even good at all. Okay, this New York Giants team has always had high hopes going into the next season, regardless of what the roster looked on paper. This 2021 New York Giants football team looks the best, as far as a balanced team goes, looks the best that it's ever been in the past 10 years, and we still can't get anything going because we keep shooting ourselves in the foot. And I am tired of hearing the 0-2 talks where we made a Super Bowl, we started 0-2, then we made the Super Bowl. There's still fans out there talking like that, and I'm tired of, a lot of these fans on Twitter or in the comments or video makers maybe talking about this team as if we should still be patient with what they're trying to bring to the forefront, what this New York Giants team is trying to build here. It's been too long. It's honestly been too long, and it's getting very, very stale. This is not NBA basketball. This is not the 76ers where it's trust the process, okay? Football games in general, the NFL is now it's 18 weeks long and your team plays for 17 games. That's all you get a year. That is all you get to prove yourself. Of course, in the NBA, you have 82 games or something like that, and you're there, 82 games. You can mess up 20 games and still be okay. With the NFL, with football in general, you only have 17 chances to beat out your opponent. You only have 17 opportunities, okay? And a year. So you can imagine how grueling and how frustrating it is to see the same product on the field every single year, despite of what your team looks like on paper. Okay, we look at these other teams. I've picked out 3 different teams that were in our same situation that has problems. Okay, this is not a perfect team. These are not perfect teams. These are teams that made a lot of mistakes that New York Giants fans would give excuses for had it happened to the New York Giants themselves. Okay, let's start off with the Bengals. Now, the Bengals, ever since Andy Dalton was gone, well, even when Andy Dalton was there and Marvin Lewis was there, this Cincinnati team was stagnant, but stagnant going to the playoffs. Like, that's a good situation to have. Not the Giants situation where we're stagnant, at a top 10 pick. They're stagnant. They were stagnant in getting to the wild card round and just getting booted out. And constantly, over and over and over again, this team will make the playoffs and get booted out the playoffs right in the wild card round. So Andy Dalton was flushed out of there. They tried new quarterbacks over there as well. Marvin Lewis got flushed out of there, and it was Zach Taylor that took the reins over there. And Zach Taylor didn't start. It wasn't very good in the beginning. Then they drafted Joe Burrow, and now everything seems to be shaping up. And not only did they draft Joe Burrow, they built a very, very good team around them. That Bengals roster is not bad at all. It really doesn't look that bad the more you look into it. And they're starting to produce. They are 3-1 right now. They almost slipped up versus the Jacksonville Jaguars, but they didn't have a lead that whole game, and they wound up winning the game because that roster eventually went out and performed. And you look at a Bengals team that has a terrible owner. Like Mike Brown. Everybody hates Mike Brown. I know a couple of Cincinnati fans. I know it's hard to believe. I know a couple of Cincinnati fans, and Mike Brown, they hate Mike Brown. They don't like Mike Brown. He's a cheap owner, all right? He never wants to pay anybody. They don't get a lot of big free agents. You guys know that. They kept around Marvin Lewis because he was too comfortable with the situation. He didn't want any change at all. And same thing with Andy Dalton. He didn't want any change in Andy Dalton as well. Like, that was the Cincinnati Bengals. They were the epitome of being stagnant. But they turned things around. They hired Zach Taylor, although Zach Taylor still, I don't think he's great, but they're 3-1 right now. They're 3-1 right now, okay? And then you look at, let's move on to the car. Oh, by the way, they don't have a GM either. The Bengals do not have a GM. They have they have a director of player personnel, Duke Tobin, okay? Don't even know that guy's name. I don't even know him at all, but Duke Tobin is their GM, I guess. Then let's move on to the Arizona Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals made a, very ironically enough, a cardinal sin, no pun intended, of drafting the wrong quarterback in the first round of, I believe, the 2018 draft, okay? The 2018 draft, there was a lot of quarterbacks that went there, right? Baker Mayfield, Josh Allen, Josh Rosen, Lamar Jackson. They drafted the worst of those guys in drafting Josh Rosen, a guy that had a lot of steam going into the NFL draft, and 4 or 5 teams later has not proven that he is a first round pick or even worthy of being a starting quarterback in the NFL. And they messed up. They knew they messed up, and although he probably could have succeeded with the Arizona Cardinals if they were patient enough, they said screw that. Kyler Murray is there. We just hired Cliff Kingsbury, who, albeit didn't have a great resume going into getting a head coaching job, but had the guy that he wanted in Kyler Murray right there at his fingertips. And the Cardinals GM, I think his name is Steve Keim. I could be wrong. He went ahead and just said, screw it. Get the guy you want, Kyler Murray. We're going to trade away Josh Rosen, who we just drafted in the first round last year. And look where they're at right now. They are 3-0 in the NFC West. They are competing in the NFC West, and a lot of people even favor them for winning the NFC West. I don't know about now because the Rams are just good. But the Arizona Cardinals are there. And it's not even like the Arizona Cardinals are that great of a team right now. They just got it. They're putting some things together. They struggled offensively last year. A lot of people were questioning Cliff Kingsbury's, I guess, his philosophy of football, his playmaking, his play calling, and things like that. But here they are, 3-0. Their offensive line is still not very good. Their defense is still not very good, and they're still winning games. They're winning games. Okay, and let's go to the Browns, the Cleveland Browns. A lot of people thought that Baker Mayfield wasn't the guy. It seems like they found their franchise quarterback. And let's quickly go over all the Browns coaches and GMs since 2010. Let's start off with the coaches. Since 2010, Freddie Kitchens, Greg Williams, Hugh Jackson, Mike Pettin, Rob Trzcinski, Pat Shurmur, and Eric Mangini. Browns GMs since 2010. Tom Heckert, Mike Lombardi, Ray Farmer, Sashi Brown, John Dorsey, and Andrew Berry. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 different changes in personnel when it comes to coaching and GMs together. 13 in the last 11 years. And here they are, one of the best teams in the AFC right now. with a stacked roster, a roster that was built over time, but in a short amount of time. I think since I would say that since 2018, since they got Baker Mayfield, that's when their team really started to shape up a bit. And ever since then, they've been looking like one of the best teams in the AFC. The freaking Cleveland Browns. And what does that tell you guys? What does that tell you about this New York Giants team? The lack of execution. No matter where you point the finger, who is to blame? At the end of the day, you look at this New York Giants roster on paper, and it stacks up with the majority of the NFL. I know other fans of teams are probably laughing at that right now, but I'm serious. If you look at this New York Giants roster right now, it is one of the better rosters in the NFL. I won't go out and flat out say it's like top 10, top 5 or anything like that, but it definitely stacks up with other teams in the NFL that have wins, that possibly are 3-0 right now. And the New York Giants are 0-3, and they lost to one of the worst defenses in the NFL last week. And they also lost to their weakest opponent that was on their schedule. And they have the hardest schedule going into the rest of this season. The New York Giants constantly shoot themselves in the foot time and time again. We don't even need to go over all the missed opportunities just in these 3 games this season that the New York Giants couldn't capitalize on. But that is the New York Giants problem. I don't want to hear any more excuses of, hey, this GM is bad. Hey, I don't like Daniel Jones. Hey, Joe Judge isn't great. Hey, even ownership. There's something wrong with ownership. Look at the Cincinnati Bengals, guys. Look at all these teams I showed you. Look at the 3 examples I showed you. One of them has a ownership problem. One of them had a problem where they drafted the wrong quarterback and still rebounded. And the other changed GMs and whether it was GMs and coaches 13 times in the past 11 years. 13 times. And still wound up being one of the best teams in the AFC. So there's no excuse. There's no excuse. You have to execute at the end of the day. You have to go out there for 60 minutes and execute. That being said, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Do you guys think I'm wrong for having this mindset of comparing other teams to the New York Giants? Or do you guys think I should shut up and be patient and just trust the process of ownership and the GM and the coaching staff? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Leave a like if you guys enjoyed. Subscribe if you guys are new. And I'll see you guys in the next video.